Is the Volvo XC40 the right car for you? Well, if you want a compact, plush, luxury SUV that's very easy to live with, the answer is probably yes. But there are some things I need to tell you about this car in this review, so stay tuned. G'day, I'm Matt and we are looking at the Volvo XC40 for this review. It's one of Australia's most popular luxury compact SUVs, and for good reason. It's just been updated for 2023. It's got a new look and some new inclusions which I'll get to in this review. And you should know this, it comes with the choice of petrol, which is this one, or an electric version. Which should you choose? Should you choose it at all? Let's find out in this review. As always, thank you for watching this new channel of mine. I hope you're enjoying what you're seeing. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps me out a lot. And also, let me know what you think about the Volvo XC40 in the comments below. Let's talk dollars and cents. The XC40 range starts from $53,000 or thereabouts, plus on-road costs for the petrol entry-level B4 Plus model. Then there's one called the B4 Ultimate, which adds a fair bit of stuff and costs quite a bit more money. Then there's this one, which is the B5 Ultimate, and it's about $64,000 before on-road costs, or about $70,000 drive away. And from there you step up to the electric models. Now there's a couple of those to choose from. The front wheel drive version is the cheaper one, obviously, but it doesn't have anywhere near as much power and torque, but it does have more range. Then there's the all-wheel drive version, which has huge power and torque, but it has less electric driving range. What matters most to you? I'd love to know. Tell me in the comments. Volvo is a safety-conscious brand, as you probably already know, so there's no surprises. LED headlights and daytime running lights are standard, plus you get a bunch of other safety equipment. I'll run through all of that in a bit more detail shortly. Push button start, keyless entry, alloy wheels across the range, an electric tailgate, a 9-inch touchscreen with Google login connectivity, so you can get onto your Gmails there. You can't actually look at your Gmails on there. Then there's Apple CarPlay and a digital instrument cluster as well. It's nicely equipped, I reckon. A car that you might want to look at if you're considering a Volvo XC40 is a Lexus UX. It's available in petrol, hybrid or electric models, and it starts at a lower price point than this car, but it is a bit more cramped, so it might not be the right car for you depending on what you are prioritizing. Probably the closest rival to this car in terms of space and utilization and nice factor, I guess, is the Audi Q3, but it doesn't come with a hybrid or an electric model, so that could rule it out for you. Depends what you're after. Then there's the Mercedes EQA or EQB or GLA or GLB. There's a few options there for you to choose from, so that might be more your style if you like Mercedes products. If you really are sold on that whole EV thing, then you might want to check out one of Volvo's own in-house competitors. It's called the Polestar 2, and it's a very interesting looking vehicle. And then there's also the Volvo C40, which is a fully electric version of this, but just with a swoopy coupe roof and a lot less practicality. I reckon the Volvo XC40 is the perfect size for a compact SUV. Now that might seem counterintuitive because it can't be too big and it can't be too small to fit into the small SUV segment, but at just over 4.4 meters long, it's hardly what you'd call intimidating in terms of its size. It's easy enough to park, although it does feel a little bit broad on the road, so mind those amazing looking wheels, and there's some even better looking wheels available in the range as well. Also, it's got a very big boot, and the boot now, as I mentioned, has an electric tailgate for every single model. It's a hands-free tailgate, according to Volvo. As you can see here, the boot is a nice deep and tall space, which means fitting in bigger items is a bit easier than in some of those other luxury SUVs which have much more swoopy rooflines and tailgates. So I actually really think this is quite a practical little SUV for what it is. Now, one of the other things I really like about it is that it has, underneath this boot floor here, a space saver spare wheel, which a couple of those other luxury SUVs certainly don't have. Just opening the shade on the panoramic glass roof that's fitted as an option to the petrol version of the XC40 that I'm testing. But if you were to choose an electric version, you'd get that as standard. You'd also get this Harman Kardon stereo system and heated front seats and heated rear seats and a heated steering wheel, all standard. And that's to help justify the extra expense that it is to jump into that electric version of this car. As they are all fitted to this car has a bunch of options fitted, like $5,000's worth. So it's almost edging that EV price point when you do add those extras. That said, it does feel quite lovely in here. I mean, the XC40 has been around for a few years now, but I think it's still holding its own in terms of the presentation, the comfort, the luxuriousness. There are some design downsides though, in my opinion. This 9-inch touchscreen is, well, looking a little bit small, and it is a little bit fiddly to use. Now, as I mentioned, it's got Google online connectivity, so you can say, "Hey Google," and it'll answer your questions. See, just like that. And then there's also things like Apple CarPlay as standard now, which is nice to have. And one thing that I don't like about the screen though, is that you have to go through the screen to adjust the climate control, the fan speed, those sorts of things. And that just means it's a little bit fiddlier than it should be. If it had those buttons down below, I wouldn't be complaining. But it is easy to get to terms with once you've spent a week or two with it. So make sure that you don't judge it on face value when you go into the showroom. There's also a 12-inch digital instrument cluster for the driver, and it is a little bit difficult to interact with. I don't really understand why the icons on the steering wheel buttons are so confusing to me, but I just find them really tricky at times. I'm not sure why. There's no up or plus for the volume, it's plus for the cruise control. I just get confused by that. Tell us if you do in the comments below. Now, comfort is very good. There are lovely seats. These seats are plush and cushy and comfortable and supportive and all the things that they should be. And when it comes to storage, there are a fair few options up here. There's a big covered center console bin. There's a little storage cubby in here, which you can put your wallet in and then forget it, like I did. There's a pair of cup holders here. There's a wireless phone charger in front of that. Another little storage nook here, which you could put your keys into, maybe, I'm not really sure. A couple of USB-C ports and a 12-volt there. And in the doors, there are massive pockets with felt lining to stop things from rattling around on the road. And I really like those little attention to detail things. Now, has much attention been paid to the back seat? Let's have a look. Remember, this is a compact SUV, a small SUV, but still, this seat is set for me at 182 centimeters or 6 foot tall. I've got enough knee room here to be comfortable and plenty of foot room and a good amount of headroom as well. It is quite good back here, although the seat is a bit firm on the backrest. It's not very comfortable in terms of comfort. Good for space, not so great for comfort. But if you are fitting child seats in, as I have, I'll show you some footage of that now, you will find that there are ISOFIX points in the window seats and 3 top tether points. Very easy to fit an ISOFIX seat in this car. I had no issues doing so, and you can fit a rearward facing baby capsule with enough comfort for the front seat passenger to be in there without any hassles whatsoever. I know that from experience as well. Other things that you'll really like in the back seat, if you are spending some time back here, there are directional air vents, and in this spec, with these options, there's heated outboard seats as well, which might add to the comfort factor a little bit. There's a USB charge point down there, and nice armrests as well, with nice flocking in the doors. Again, big bottle holders to keep people happy. There's a armrest with cup holders as well, and that turns into a ski port if you pull that down as well. You wouldn't fit 3 adults across here with comfort, but you would fit 2 comfortably, or 2 kids would be happy in here. Now, for context, I spent some time in this car with my daughter and 2 dogs. I had no complaints. None of them can talk. Choosing a petrol version of the XC40 will score you a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo engine with 48-volt mild hybrid technology, which is designed to help you save fuel in stop-start situations, in theory at least. So there's the B4 2-litre engine, which has a little bit less power and torque, and then there's this, the B5, which gets a sizable kick up the backside in terms of grunt numbers. And it can do 0 to 100 in almost hot hatch-like time, which is pretty impressive for an all-wheel drive compact SUV at least. And then there's the fast ones. So there's the electric version with front-wheel drive, is still very quick, but then the all-wheel drive version, which has, as I mentioned, 330 kilowatts and 660 newton meters of torque, well, it'll do 0 to 100 in 4.5 seconds. What's the Volvo XC40 like to drive? Well, it's pretty good in most situations. I will say that it is just a little bit slow to take off, especially when you just start the car up, but it can be a little bit laggy, and I think that's to do with the 48-volt mild hybrid system, just taking a little bit of time to figure out what needs to happen next. Once you get up to speed though, this 2-litre 4-cylinder engine is grunty enough to get the job done. In fact, probably more than enough to get the job done. And if you don't really care and don't need all the power and torque, maybe you don't even know what power and torque are, then just check out the base model engine. It's probably going to do the job for you. The 8-speed automatic transmission does a good job as well. As far as I can tell, I haven't had any issues with it during my 3 or 4 weeks with this car. So it is very, very agreeable to drive in most situations. There is one thing I want to mention, and it's the ride comfort, and it isn't uncomfortable, but it could be more comfortable, if that makes sense. It just seems to bump and jump a little bit more than it should, and that's mainly because it's got these big 20-inch wheels, which look fantastic, and they've got the low profile tires. They're nice and grippy, those tires, but yeah, it's not necessarily as plush or cushy as a Volvo buyer might expect or want it to be. In terms of the other elements of the drive experience, yeah, it's pretty quiet. On coarse chip roads it can be a little bit noisy, but so can most cars with those low profile tires, and the steering is very easy to manage at high or low speeds. It's pretty agreeable to live with, this car. I'm not here to try and convince you whether you need or want a petrol or electric version, but I'm going to give you some info that might help make that decision for you. So the petrol versions, they'll use petrol. There's the B4 and B5, and both of them have claimed fuel consumption, official combined cycle fuel consumption, in the 7 litres per 100 range. So that's what you should be able to see across a mix of driving. But during my time in the B5, where I've spent a few hundred kilometres of driving it, well, 9.3 litres is the best that I've achieved. So not terrific in that regard. Now, if you're considering one of those electric versions, they're not the most efficient either, because, well, Volvo has this tendency to have boxier cars that are quite heavy, and those EV compact SUVs are very heavy indeed. The official efficiency figures are on your screen now. You just need to know that the higher the number, the less efficient they are. So the all-wheel drive version using 25-ish kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, yeah, that's pretty thirsty. That's very inefficient, in fact. A Kia EV6 or a Kia Niro or a Hyundai Ioniq 5, well, that's going to use something more like 14 or 15 kilowatt hours per 100 Ks. So yeah, lower is better. Those Volvo XC40 numbers aren't very low. Surprise, surprise, the Volvo XC40 really hits the target when it comes to safety tech. Or should that be misses the target? Anyway, it's got all the stuff you'd expect. Autonomous emergency braking with cyclist, pedestrian, vehicle, and also large animal detection. But it won't pick up kangaroos, so don't go jumping to any conclusions there. It's also got lane keeping assistance, blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, and rear AEB, so it'll stop the car from hitting something if it thinks you're going to when you're in reverse. That's good to note. Plus, it's got 7 airbags on the inside, and just keep in mind the ANCAP safety rating is 5 stars, as you would expect, but that was from 2018, and things have changed a bit since then. Not saying that it wouldn't score 5 stars now, or that it's an unsafe car now. It's just something you might want to keep in mind. One of the things I really like about the safety technology though, is that if you switch off one of the aids, like lane keeping for instance, it'll actually stay switched off when you get back in the car, which is nice. Buy a Volvo XC40 and you get a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty. If you choose the EV, it's an 8-year warranty on the battery pack. Both versions get an 8-year roadside assistance package included at the time of purchase, which is a really nice touch. Cap price servicing is available for the petrol versions. There's a 3-year or 5-year pack. You have to prepay for that pack, and the prices are on your screen now. If you decide that you want to get the EV version of the XC40, then you're going to get 3 years of included free servicing, including wear and tear items like wipers and brakes, which is very nice to note. Helps justify that little cost increase as well. I reckon the Volvo XC40 is one of the best compact luxury SUVs on the market. It's extremely easy to live with, easy on the eye as well, and it's also got the choice of petrol or electric, so it's keeping up to the times when it comes to choices for people to make. Tell us what you think in the comments section below. Would you choose this or one of those other rivals that I mentioned? I'd love to hear your thoughts, and also if you are still watching, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. It helps out a lot. We'll see you at the next one.